Today's feature will have us looking at my first book, Identity from a Different Breed, which was published in 2013. And quick summary about this book. This is one that I hold near and dear to me. Not only is it the first book that I published, but it tells the story mostly in the format of my upbringing, growing up in the south side of Atlanta, trying to find my identity. I had some academic challenges that led me to being held back in the sixth grade from meeting my first lifelong friends, and just, of course, matriculating through middle school, high school, the challenges that came with it of being an adolescent, then graduating at the top of my class, and the mental resilience that I first developed through just persevering through my academic goals. And the second half of the book is mainly themed on me being in college when I pledged the fifth largest Black fraternity of the National Pan-Hellenic Council, Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. And I'm telling the story about during my freshman year, out of all of the fraternities and the great influences that I've had over time from each brother of each fraternity, I found that this particular fraternity stood out the most to me, and how I carried the life lessons that I learned from being an adolescent through that fraternity, and the courage that it took for me to learn about embracing your individuality and standing for what you believe in, even if there's no one around you that's applauding you, even if there's no one around you that is recognizing you, even if you often feel unseen. Those lessons are well documented that I talk about within this book about embracing your individuality. And I still hold it near and dear because I carry those same principles even today, especially today. A lot of people don't know of very specific stories throughout my tenure at Albany State University and when I pledged this fraternity, but I was a solo, and it didn't always it wasn't originally like that. I had a brother with me that was online. We were pledging at the same time, and long story short, he, about 10 years later, passed away. Rest in peace to Sean Sessoms. But at the time, when we were going through our process, he could not finish the process. But the brothers that pledged us always wanted it to be known that I did once have a brother. So I was a deuce on my line. I was number two on my line. I was the deuce. And he was the ace. And just because he didn't finish the process didn't mean that my brothers, my prophytes, didn't want it to be insinuated that there was once someone preceding me on my line, that it was two of us and not just me. But for anyone that is familiar with Greek life, there's the ace, which is the head of the line, the deuce, which is number two, and then the anchor, which is the last person on a pledge line. So with those same values that I learned over time, that I kept near and dear growing up, pledging my fraternity, and even post graduation, I said, well, what does an anchor really represent? What does an anchor do? If you think about an anchor of a ship, what an anchor does is keep things balanced and stable and keep things grounded, right? Without the anchor, I'm sorry, the ship is just going to be wavering in the wind, right? So the anchor holds it down for that ship. Now, another special thing about the anchor is that it's not often seen. It's if it's on a ship, it's submerged underwater. You typically don't see it when it's on this journey. And growing up, I remember, and even today, I struggle with sometimes not feeling seen when I want to be seen for the great works that I either accomplish or I connect with people that might feel the same way. You do a great work, you do great things in life, but for whatever reason, you are often unseen. And that is the reality. Maybe you strive for that recognition, or maybe you don't get it, but you want it to be known, at least to self, as a measure of self-worth, that although my great works aren't seen and aren't immediately recognized, it is still very important to the foundation of this ship, right? This great service work that you are doing is still highly essential and highly necessary to your contribution to life. So I carry with me as a reminder of just that, this anchor that reminds me that, and reminds everyone that throughout your journey of accomplishing whatever you need to accomplish, know that it may not be most immediately seen, recognized. You may not get the clout. You may not get the immediate recognition of or the credibility of what you do, but don't for one second think that your work is unnecessary, that it's not valid, that you're not making a contribution to keeping things balanced and stable. That is the important piece that I would love to share with you all. And I connected with a lot of the lessons that I learned growing up, the work that you do, that I did behind closed doors, and the often unseen work that that led me to accomplishing a lot of what I experienced and I accomplished on my journey. But more stories are included within this book, my first literary labor of love. The foreword was written by the 18th International Grand Polaris, Steve Burdine. May God rest his soul. He has passed away, but this is something treasured to me. In the back, you will see the blurb, and it's a picture of me when I was visiting Morgan State University on the fifth step where my fraternity was founded. You can find this book on Amazon. Just search my name, Byron Fields, and you will find it there, still listed for sale. And I thank you all for listening, and hope everyone has a wonderful day wherever you are.